DeepSeek proves that China's private sector remains innovative and competitive, and it also shows the possibility for China's continued AI advancements, said analysts at Bank of America Global Research. DeepSeek could potentially democratize computing and change the global AI ecosystem. Our global strategist Michael Hansnat called for peak U.S. exceptionalism. The mood in Hong Kong was boosted by news that Chinese President Xi Jinping was meeting Alibaba co-founder Jack Ma and other top entrepreneurs this week. The gathering, fueled by hopes of fresh support for the private sector, which has been hit by a series of crackdowns by the government in the past few years, hammering share prices. Mass inclusion hints at the billionaire magnet's potential public rehabilitation after years out of the spotlight following a tangle with regulators. Other participants included Ren Zhengfei, the founder of tech titan Huawei, and Wang Chuanfu, who established electric vehicle giant BYD. Tokyo edged up as data showed the Japanese economy slowed sharply last year but enjoyed a forecast-topping quarter thanks to strong exports. Shanghai, Seoul, Singapore, Taipei, Jakarta and Wellington also, though Sydney, Mumbai, Bangkok and Manila slipped. Investors are also keeping tabs on developments over the Ukraine war after Trump said on Sunday he could meet Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin very soon, adding he believed he genuinely wanted to stop the fighting. European defense stocks surged on Monday as states leaders pondered ways to help finance increase military spending in the region as pressure from Washington grew ahead of a potential peace deal for Ukraine. Investors were warming up to the prospect that Brussels could make it easier for countries to increase their defense budgets, even for those that are heavily indebted, as the US steps up its demand for NATO countries to boost their spending. Shares in top defense companies soared, with German arms maker Rheinmetall rising as much as 11% to a new record high, while Sweden's Saab and Britain's BAE Systems gained 11% and 6% respectively. Italy's Leonardo and France's Thales also saw significant gains, with both rising more than 5%. French President Emmanuel Macron will host European leaders, including Britain's Prime Minister, on Monday for an emergency summit on the Ukraine war, after US officials suggested Europe would have no role in any talks on ending the conflict. Japan Chancellor Olaf Scholz, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, and Ursula von der Leyen from the European Union will also attend. It is clear to us that the ability of European countries to influence peace talks will be directly proportional to the additional military support that they will be able to provide to Ukraine, Mediobanca Securities said in a note. On Friday, von der Leyen proposed to exempt defense from EU limits on government spending by activating the so-called escape clause. This would enable member states to boost spending without risk of triggering an excessive deficit procedure. Europe needs to increase its defense spending and will be keeping a close eye on how this affects national budget, said Alberto Conca, CIO at Swiss Asset Management. Defense stocks are a team that's likely to continue to gain momentum. They've already performed well, but I believe they still have room to run, he added. US President Donald Trump has been vocal in demanding to lift the NATO spending target to 5% of GDP in defense from the 2% threshold agreed in 2006. European shares rose to more than record levels on Monday, led by defense stocks as the region's top political leaders called for an emergency summit on the Ukraine war, amid growing US calls to boost military spending for security. The Pan-European 600 index jumped as high as 0.4% as a gauge of defense and aerospace stocks surged over 3% to lifetime peaks, having already more than doubled in value since Russia invaded Ukraine 3 years ago. Investors expect earnings in the industry to continue to rise strongly, driven by a significant surge in defense budgets to meet new security needs, which analysts have dubbed a super cycle for the sector. A resolution to the conflict in Ukraine could deliver positive growth impulses for Europe, including improved consumer confidence, lower energy prices, and easier financial conditions. Bruno, banks were also in demand, up 1.5% and flying to 17-year highs, helped by a rise in bond yields. French President Emmanuel Macron will on Monday hold an emergency summit on Ukraine after U.S. officials suggested Europe would have no role in any talks this week in Saudi Arabia aimed at ending the conflict. The imminent trend to reciprocal U.S. tariffs has resisted until April, but the risk that they might include levies based on value-added taxes in other countries was a major worry. Trade policy remains a wild card, with the potential for increment tariffs and the impact on inflation and growth. While the announced tariffs have not yet materially altered the economic landscape, further escalation could introduce